Hello, everyone. A very warm good evening, good morning, good afternoon, uh, depending where you're joining us from, live or later. I'm so happy to present to you Training Vision Institute Global Education's Care Vision webinar series, where we explore emerging careers, frontier technologies, and core competencies that are needed for the future of work. Today, the pandemic has adversely affected not only the healthcare, but there's also a career crisis that we are witnessing. And to address this career crisis, we need new approaches given the disruption and volatility in the jobs market and the changing behaviors. The way that people learn, earn, and perform is rapidly changing, and unprecedented times require unprecedented measures. And it's our endeavor to give the right kind of awareness, empowerment to young professionals who are starting out their early careers or transitioning into a different career through this Career Vision webinar series. And we are bringing thought leaders and experts from around the world who are practitioners who have facilitated such careers, launches or transitions, and who are best suited to give you perspectives, not advice, but perspectives, and give you inspiration and information to give you to help you advance your careers in this new normal, in a global new normal. I'm Aditya, the CEO of TVI Global Education, and we're thrilled to have Ania Zuzek with us. Ania is the co-founder and executive director at Enlight. She's a talent development professional based out of New York, and she's so kindly taken her time to spend with all of us. She is really passionate about workforce development, and she worked around the world, especially in Eastern and Western Africa, where in Uganda, she launched a solar academy where she was training rural job seeking youth as certified solar technicians. And she really contributed to the growing solar industry in that space. And later on, she evolved that into a social enterprise and a vocational institute, on the job coaching programs, and supported many young people to get access to employers. Uh, she's worked with youth for almost a decade in 6 different countries across cultures, religions, and economic backgrounds. And she's really an inspiring person, and we're so excited to have her with us today. And she's really passionate about supporting underrepresented talent in achieving their career goals, benefiting businesses and workers. So it's such a pleasure to have you, Ania. And just I want to share a little bit about today's topic, which we've requested Ania to also just share about. We're talking about careers in the green economy, a shift to a greener economy or a sustainable development. Uh, if we understand the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, the Agenda 2030, which has adversely been hit by the pandemic, but then if we still achieve those sustainable development goals, specifically in the green economy space, we could create 24 million new jobs globally by 2030. So there's a lot of impetus at a global, national, and local level towards this. And it's such a meaningful, purposeful place for any young professional, irrespective of their background, their functional skills, to contribute towards the green economy. We are now talking about India, and in India, the shift to the green economy could also add 3 million jobs, especially in the renewable energy sector by 2030. So there's a lot of opportunity that we see at TVI, and in our research, there's thousands of job vacancies in this moment, despite the crisis that we're facing. And in alignment with the government's vision of a green India, of Sector Skills Council, they've launched for green jobs in India. And to improve the climate literacy and citizenry, we're so happy to bring Ania here with us, who's bringing her global experience to share insights on how young professionals, like many of you who are here with us live or who are watching this later, to set up, plan a career, explore a career in this green economy, and really advance in that space while contributing to the planet. Welcome, Ania. Without further ado, so happy to have you here, and thank you.
Aditya, thank you so much for this motivational and very lovely introduction. I am very humbled. Let me just share my screen here. Just 1 moment. All right, can everyone see this? Yeah, all right. Well, I feel extremely privileged and happy to have the opportunity to talk to you today about the careers in the clean energy and sustainability industry. Before we start, I do want to ask you a question. How committed are you to listening to this webinar? So rate yourself on the scale from 1 to 7, 1 being the lowest, 7 being the highest. And 1 is you are listening to me pretty much while you're doing some other things. And 7 is you're quite focused. You have maybe your notebook out to take some notes. You are in a very quiet space, no distractions. So be honest, there is no right or wrong answer here. We're all adults and you have the ownership of your time and how you spend it. But I do want you to commit to this number that you chose throughout the whole session. And this exercise is really to encourage you to stick to your plan. And I guarantee that if you do stick to that number throughout the whole session, you will have higher satisfaction and a sense of accomplishment at the end of the session. And that's what's really is important here. Today, I'll be talking to you about career paths in the clean energy industry, and we'll zoom in on the solar industry specifically. So we'll map out the careers paths in the solar industry. We'll also touch upon the green buildings and energy efficiency industry. And then I will share with you the techniques on staying positive during the job search. It can be very daunting. And also becoming a little bit more self-aware in case you're not quite sure about the career path that you want to take. So as Aditya mentioned, I did live in East Africa, in Uganda, for several years. And sometimes in the mornings before going to office, I cheated on my diet and I would stop by the small mama shop on the way to work to buy a mandazi. Mandazi are these very delicious but unhealthy deep fried donuts. And when I was waiting for the mandazi to be made, I would sometimes walk inside of the room where all the cooking was done to say hello to the owner, say hello to her kids, get my language lesson in Luganda. But unfortunately, I couldn't stay there for very long. The smoke was just overwhelming in that small space. And I couldn't imagine how Mama Grace, who I would see there, could stay there the whole day. Well, 95% of Ugandan rural households rely on charcoal stoves for cooking. And according to the World Health Organization, indoor pollution causes 3.8 million premature deaths every year globally as a result of exposure to smoke from dirty cook stoves and fuels. And I believe that the outdoor pollution it causes around 4-point-something million premature deaths every year as well. Around this time last year, in August 2020, I was sitting with my partner and we're drinking our morning coffee. And he started to get these WhatsApp messages with photos very similar to the one that you're seeing here. And these messages were from his friends and family from Niamey in Niger in Western Africa. In 2020, Niger faced the worst floods in its history, displacing more than 200,000 people and killing dozens, destroying schools, farmlands, and killing livestock that so many people depend on for livelihood and for food. Well, these stories are, from Niger and from Uganda because I have a personal connection to these places. However, they're not unlike some of the stories that you hear from some of the parts in India, for example, and really all across the world. We see the impact of we see the impact of climate change all across the world. The fires in the Amazon, in Australia, in California, the droughts in Kenya, the droughts in India, the droughts in Colombia. So the point here is this work is very critical. So hopefully you will be interested in joining this industry because the work is very critical and very meaningful. Well, the good news is that investment in clean energy and renewables energy, as well as the eco-friendly corporations, is rising, is growing. Global renewables investment return is 7 times higher than the fossil fuels, and the cost of capital for renewables remains lower than that of fossil fuels. And socially responsible investing is becoming more popular. Morgan Stanley recently ran this survey that found that 90% of millennials are more likely to invest in causes and corporations that are more aligned with their values. So as we are seeing more millennials being part of the pool of investors, we'll see more socially responsible investing as well. And in general, investors are looking beyond companies' financial performance and looking at factors like impact on society and environment. And as a result, the clean energy industry is booming. It has generated twice as much workplaces than the fossil fuels industry this year globally. So what types of jobs are in the clean energy industry? They really span across multiple disciplines. So you can work in finance and still be involved in the clean energy industry. You can be in sales and marketing. You can be an architect. You can be a solar instructor and work in academia and education. So it's not really just about engineering. It also spans across all 3 sectors: public, nonprofit, and private. And it can be divided in different technologies. Today we'll talk about solar, but there's also multiple opportunities in bioenergy, in hydro, and clean cook stoves, especially in emerging markets, wind power, and green buildings and energy efficiency. So let's dive into the solar industry career paths and map out some of the opportunities here. So the solar industry can be divided in 4 sectors: manufacturing, system design, project development, and installation and operations. So we'll go in, we'll describe each of them one by one. But do keep in mind that all of these sectors, they don't work in silos. They do talk to each other, they interact with each other along the value chain in the solar industry. So manufacturing is about production of the solar components and thermal components, including the panels, the racks, the controllers, the inverters. But it's not just about the production line. You would be involved in the development part and the research part, which it does include applied engineering, conceptual design, feasibility analysis. And along all of that, there is quality assurance. So there are roles like quality assurance, inspectors and specialists. There's a role for process improvement, constantly looking at how manufacture is being done and how to improve it, and innovation. And system design is about putting these components together to make sure that they generate efficient power to meet the prerequisites of the system, and also balancing the cost of the project and the schedule of the project. You can see here under the job roles that there is a space here for IT specialists and software engineers. So if you are an aspiring IT specialist or software engineer, there's definitely space for you in the solar industry and in clean energy industry in general. So what you can do here is a really exciting development of platforms and apps that support this industry. And it can range from anything like apps that can help with talent and development, for example, training technicians in the field. It can support the sales and marketing, understanding a CRM system for solar. But also very important is the monitoring system. So every monitoring system for solar is backed up by a software, and we need that in order to monitor those systems remotely. So you might have a team in, let's say, New York. There's monitoring a system that is far away from the city, and you want to understand what is the production and consumption of that system. Moving on to project development. Project development includes such a variety of roles. You see here that you can be involved in law and contracting for a solar company or for a solar contractor. You can be involved in sales and marketing. Really a diverse space. So really not just engineering. Project development also includes quality assurance and inspection. So there are some roles in electrical inspector, code official, building inspector. I do want to mention that manufacturing is not a sector that is well established in all over the world. So most manufacturing is done in Asia and North America, and Asia, but not so much in sub-Saharan Africa. Hopefully, we'll see that coming soon. So most of these roles are not available in places like sub-Saharan Africa. And also during under the system design, most of the roles in sub-Saharan Africa would usually end at the residential PV system designer stage, because everything above that, starting with the utility interconnection engineer, is really dealing with systems that are connected to the grid. And majority of the solar systems in Africa are standalone systems, residential and commercial. And it's not to say that these roles do not exist at all in sub-Saharan Africa, but they are just as really singular individuals who will be working on a huge solar plant, and they come in to do the project and they usually leave. All right, moving on to installation and operations. Well, this sector is really about working in the field. This is where it all happens. And that includes the preparation and the installation of the solar system. Green buildings and energy efficiency industry is really a rapidly growing industry in the US specifically, but also in Europe and other places. But in the US specifically, most buildings are air conditioned. So they have these cooling systems that are really not energy efficient. So the government is trying to retrofit these buildings to be more efficient, and also make sure that the new buildings that are being constructed are more energy efficient. However, other countries in the world are also recognizing that lack of cooling is posing certain risks to vulnerable populations. So in preparation for this trend towards more cooling in buildings and demand for cooling in buildings, governments are creating plans for how to make sure that this industry that is going to come into their countries is managed and is eco-friendly. And India actually came up with a national cooling action plan that lays out a plan for the next, I believe, 20 years on how to make this happen. So it is something that we should expect outside of the US. I'm not going to go into each of the sectors here, but I will make it available to you. It is accessible online on the ICER website. So we'll show a link with you, and it really outlines the great career pathways map that talks about this industry and the different roles within and the qualifications you will need. It is catered to the US, but I'm sure that you can find inspiration in it. So we'll make sure that it's being shared. Well, if you didn't like any of the roles that I just spoke about, there is still opportunity for you in this industry. For example, if you are interested in impact investing, you might be interested to look at the various foundations and global NGOs that do work with social enterprises and projects in green energy, with missions to provide green solutions and clean energy products around the world. And if you are interested in, for example, policy analysis and research, you might be interested in working for the United Nations or the World Bank or the government, a think tank. There's a lot of advocacy and communications and community organizing and campaigns that happen to United Nations and non-government affiliated think tanks. Maybe you're interested in teaching and want to become a solar instructor, and there's a space for you in the academia. Not only in academia, but also corporations are hiring trainers to upskill their staff. And there are consulting firms that work with executives all over the world and corporations to help them be more sustainable and energy efficient. So there's really something for everyone here. But what skills do you need in order to enter this industry? So for certain job roles, you will need either engineering, depending on the job role, you might need engineering or law or public policy or finance backgrounds. So you will focus on developing those skills. But I do want to encourage you, as you are getting a degree in those fields, do make sure that you develop competencies that are a little cross-cutting. Employers today, they are more likely to invest in technical skills of their employees, so they might invest in your upskilling, but when they're hiring, they are looking for certain aptitude. And to get an insight into the competencies that are really in huge demand by employers, there is a webinar in this series, in a Training Vision series, that did cover 5 core competencies that companies are looking for, employers are looking for. And it's really spot on. So I do recommend you to check that out in the Training Vision series. Also, when you are doing your technical training, some of the skills and competencies that you are gaining through technical training can be transferable to other competencies that are more soft skills. So for example, coding. When you just start coding, it requires so much resilience. You're pushing yourself to really finish that on your own and learn it. So don't be discouraged. Find ways to be creative because I'm sure you're on the right track. Now, how do I know that this career path is right for me? Well, college students all over the world are asking or being asked this question: what do you hope to do in the future? What is your plan? What is your passion? You might be even asking yourself, what is my purpose? What do I want to do? You might be asking yourself, should I apply for this internship? It looks very prestigious. It's probably going to look really great on my resume and employers are going to be impressed. Or you might even not apply to certain positions or opportunities because you fear of being rejected, or you feel like maybe I'm not good enough, maybe this is not for me. So making a decision around careers and career development and just job hunting can be really it can come with a lot of internal and external pressures, and it can cause a lot of anxiety, self-doubt, even feelings of shame and fear. And when you are in this mindset, it's really difficult to be curious. You start to be in this tunnel vision space. You're not seeing opportunities around you. You're seeing only challenges, and it's a huge time waster. So I do want to encourage you and talk a little bit about how we can deal with these and manage these, negative voices in our head. And firstly, you're not alone. CEOs and leaders, and I'm sure a lot of your classmates are dealing with this as well. So how can we, what can we do when we hear that inner critic? First of all, recognize it. You write or say out loud what this inner voice is saying to you. Give it a name. So my inner judge or inner critic is called poison, because it's poisoning my happiness. And the reason why I name it is because then it dissociates it from my voice, from me. When you associate to another name, then it's no longer you saying those negative things. And you're not going to, listen to someone called monster or the judge or a Godzilla. I know someone whose inner judge is called Godzilla. So do give it a name. And tell your, Godzilla or monster or poison to stop judging you. Just stop the negativity in your head. And then you will practice self-compassion. So how can we practice self-compassion? You can practice self-compassion by talking to yourself as if you were talking to a friend. So you're giving yourself advice as if you were talking to a really good friend. And you can write it down. You can say it out loud to yourself. And then when you are in the midst of this negativity, you can center yourself by writing down 1 or 2 or 3 things that you are grateful for. It really helps to feel a little bit more positive. The whole idea is change your inner critic, inner judge to being your inner coach and friend. Try it out, and hopefully this will make a huge impact on the way that you view not just challenges when you're thinking about your career, but in general, various challenges that you face in your life. Well, let's say that you are in the right mindset, you are curious, you are ready to explore the different opportunities, different career paths out there. However, you have no idea where to start. You have no idea what you really like, what you enjoy in terms of that can actually provide income and make a career. So what I suggest is this technique around journaling. Go ahead and buy a notebook. And whenever you come across something that either excites you, makes you feel curious, or brings you joy, write it down in your journal. And don't feel pressure to write and fill up the journal with a bunch of pages. It's really not about the quantity, but you can be selective in the things that you write down, really the ones that make you feel curious, make you feel excited. And this can be anything from feeling excited after a conversation with someone, or a podcast that you heard, or an article or a blog that you read. So after around 2 or 3 months, you are going to open your journal and read through to all the entries, and you will start looking for patterns, certain themes that are coming up, certain linkages between these journal entries. Some entries you're not even going to remember, but you should be able to start seeing certain similarities and linkages. So for example, you might see that wow, over the past 3 months, I started to collect all these articles on, for example, animals. And why am I excited about animals? What is so curious about animals? And you might start seeing that all these things are talking about animal protection and making sure that animals are not hurt. And then what you do with this information, it's a huge revelation. And you can use that to, for example, reach out to people on LinkedIn who are in animal protection and start talking to them, start finding out more about their work, about what motivated them to be in this type of work. Um, so it's a tool to raise your self-awareness. And I do suggest that you keep an Excel sheet with the links of the articles and LinkedIn profiles and blogs or whatever you find online that spark that interest in you, just so you can go back to it whenever you want. And as you are reaching out to people, also make sure that you have a spreadsheet with their contact information, because this is your networking database, which is really important. Another technique that you can use is a life map. Some of you might be already familiar with this activity. So the life map is a technique to trace key aha moments in your life that bring you to where you are now. The aha moments can be defined as moments of epiphany, of revelation, of inspiration, and events in your life that moved you to change something, moved you to think differently. By the end of this exercise, and you can do it in many ways. It can be a timeline, you can just put pictures. It's really up to you. It can be chronological, it doesn't have to be. But at the end of this exercise, you will have a visual representation of these significant moments. And that should help you understand where you are today by looking at where you have been and where you might go next. It also shows you a little bit what is important in your life and the values that you hold, because usually those pivots, also there's a trend there and a pattern there that you might be able to see. Now, if you are pretty set in what you want your career to be, but you're just 100% sure. So you kind of know what you want to do, you kind of know what career you want to follow, but you want to have a little bit of a confirmation that this is the right path for you. So a very simple technique to test it, to test your career goal and whether it's a worthy goal, is to first write it down, write your career goal down, and then test it against these 3 attributes. And ask yourself, so is your goal thrilling? Are you excited? Do you want to talk about it with everyone all the time? Does it make your heart beat faster when you're thinking about it? Does it really, really excite you? Is your goal important? Well, what makes it an important goal is, does it contribute to the well-being of the world? And we're not talking here about saving the world and you being the face of the change. It is about the small steps, but are you contributing something back to your community? And is your goal daunting? By daunting, what we mean here is it challenging? Are you learning? Is it going to take you a little bit outside of your comfort zone? Because we do unlock our greatness when we work on the hard things. I do want to leave you with this idea that there is a space for everyone in the clean energy industry, and enjoy the journey of career exploration. There's so many opportunities out there, and we are sure that with the support from the training vision, you will definitely find the right fit. And it's really about the process and the journey, and not so much about the end goal. I will stop sharing here and see if we have any questions, and And then over to Aditya.
Thank you, Ania. I think we don't have any specific questions here, but I just want to say that I think you've really expanded our minds on the opportunities here in the green economy, and in India too. What we're looking at is, uh, like you rightly said, there's this impetus towards the green economy, and there's a lot of policy direction, a lot of startups as well who are starting up in this space. And I think what really also excites us is that, in India, uh, of course, solar energy and renewable energy space is really picking up, with where we see a lot of the electric mobility or e-mobility, electric vehicle companies coming up. And recently we have had Kia Motors investing in South India. And many such organizations really, starting up. At the same time, we also look at environmental protection and a lot of that awareness growing around. And when you mention animal protection, I think India is actually improving in its tiger conservation, as far as I know. So this is also really interesting. And I think most of the opportunity for India really seems to be in manufacturing in terms of green construction materials, as India still has a huge scope for infrastructure investment. And maybe that's for another career vision webinar on the opportunities in that space. But I think really, like, there's a lot of those, green buildings, retrofitting existing buildings, other green construction technologies that are coming up, and a really exciting time. And it's also an opportunity for young professionals to play to their strength, to really be in, to play to their core technical area, whatever it may be it if it's an engineering space, then whatever that core engineering skill is, or in any other uh, manner. And we're really looking at all the associated adjacent areas which you rightly mentioned, in policy, in consulting, in project development, in research and design. So there's a lot of sort of managerial and professional competencies that are also needed, and uh, this is indeed a sustainable space. It's a space with the future, especially as we see many of the fuel companies actively, openly, publicly, changing gears. Many of the auto manufacturers, or many of the other kinds of manufacturers, openly turning towards this space. I do want to promote, our Enable program at Training Vision, amongst other programs that TVI does. So, just for everybody who's tuned in, first of all, thank you for your time, and do follow, if you resonate with Ania, do follow her and check her out. I think if any of you have any specific questions, especially, see, maybe one or two are from Africa here, so do feel free to buzz her. She's very approachable, and I think she's very helpful, and brings a lot of insights. Do check out our website, trainingvision.in, where we have all the details for the programs that we run. TVI Global Academy is sort of a multiversity where we bring in professional and postgraduate diploma programs from around the world, from US, UK universities. And we're going to launch very soon in September. And we would like all of you to go to our website. If you're interested in any program, just join the wait list. We have exciting launch prices, especially as we want to democratize uh, you know world-class higher education to everybody in a very transnational manner. And in August, we're planning for the Enable program. I'll just share my screen really quickly. And so we're looking at, we've come to study that, especially in India, and one of the key issues for educated unemployment in India is that, or underemployment rather, in India, is that we see that uh, 21st century global core competencies are actually missing. And this is something that we specialize in. Our trainers, our coaches, our technology is really at your service to support you. And so do sign up for this program, and I'll share more details. We're looking at uh, something what Ania alluded to in terms of life map. I've personally done that activity. It is so powerful to really reflect on your life and be self-aware. Only then you know what your strengths are, what gives you energy, what drives you. So personal effectiveness, emotional intelligence, interview skills, innovation, and all of this is done in e-learning, where we have self-directed learning. We also have live instructed learning from our trainers from Singapore, India, or Europe, who are going to work with you and help you improve in these competency areas. Um, so we're offering this at a very affordable manner, and we want you to sort of sign up for the August program, and do apply. And if the fee and pricing is an issue, do write to us. We're looking at offering a few scholarships as well. So if you feel like you need support, financial support, we'll also explore how we can arrange that for you. But this program is really interesting. We've put a lot of heart in it, in the sense of bringing together a lot of technology to profile your competencies at the beginning of the training program and at the end of the training program. So you will see how you have developed in these particular areas. And also the employers, your future employers, will also be able to understand your career readiness, your career fit, your working style, your competency levels. And we also provide internship opportunities uh, in India and in Singapore and all around the world with our network of choice employers. So we have an exciting lineup of trainers for this program that we've curated, and we also have a lot of you know we've developed the ENCODE assessment with our sister concern, where it's a smart personality assessment that also gives you. So the good news is, for those of you who are here or who are watching this later, you can register for the Enable program. You can visit our website at trainingvision.in, and you can check out, and you have a free career readiness assessment in when you type bit.ly/TVI encode. And so when you're applying for a job, add in this career readiness assessment. I think that'll probably up your uh, probability, or your sort of chances with your employer. I think we're looking at how can we make career enablement and career advancement really easy, both for candidates, young professionals such as you, who want to have global careers, at the same time for employers who are kind of in the dark, where they get a lot of profiles of equally qualified people. So differentiate yourself, and thank you for being with us. Stay tuned, and watch out for this space as we explore other emerging job markets, emerging career areas, with fantastic speakers. Up next, we have someone who's a senior HR leader from Europe, who's going to join. So show us some love, like our page, and the TVI, being a 30-year-old company, but still, to India and Africa, we are new. And so show us some love, follow us, and share it with your friends and family and your colleagues. Stay tuned. Thank you for that. Thank you, Ania. Thank you, everybody. We'll conclude this space for now, and it's a wrap. So the details are in the chat as well. Thank you, Icha, for sharing some of the things. Anya, thank you so much again. I think that was very well presented, and it really